Hi everyone, and welcome to back to my channel. I've had planned on doing a review video this time, but unfortunately I haven't been well. I have had a fibro flare and I'm still in said fibro flare, so I haven't had a chance to do much reading. Now, what I decided to do was talk to you about some of my favourite authors, three in particular. One of them you may be a little bit surprised as a bit of an outlier to the other two. First author I'm going to talk about is a author that comes under the young adult category, or YA, and that is Cassandra Clare. She wrote the Shadowhunter series that was made into a film and a TV series. Now, I did watch both the film and the TV series after reading the books, and as film and TV show in its own right, they were quite good, but as per usual, they had to make adjustments because they couldn't stick to the book. It would have been far too long a series. Casting was brilliant. Harry Shum Jr. as Magnus Bane is probably one of the best bits of casting I've seen. And if you are familiar with the Shadowhunter world, Malik. Not only has Cassandra Clare written series, the Shadowhunter series, which was the Mortal Instruments, she also wrote a prequel called The Infernal Devices. There are sequel books as well, and there are side books such as the Magnus Bane Chronicles. Now, one of the things I love about the Magnus Bane Chronicles is that a lot of the throwaway lines he has in the books and in the TV series are explained, the stories behind them, the throwaway about the young boy with the awful musical instrument that Ragnar Fell mentions. It does all tie in. Now, these books take you on a journey. They take you through the Shadowhunters world from the eyes of somebody who's never seen it before. Now, in the Mortal Instruments series, that would be Clare Fairchild, who also brings in Simon, her best friend, and several other characters. Now, the prequel books takes us back to late 1800s London, where we see some of the character development, some of the background stories, some things like why the Herondales don't like ducks. And these stories are great. It's great escapism. There's nothing offensive in these books. The whole ethos of the Shadowhunters world is one that I particularly like, much to the point I actually have a Shadowhunter tattoo. I know my mum hates it, but I do like it. It's that whole meaning of relationships and how those relationships can be altered through different events. I'm currently rereading those books just as a way for me to be reading when I don't have to be totally focused on something new, because obviously when I'm in a flare, pain's high and my memory gets a bit wonky as well, as does my ability to actually sit and read for any length of time. Now, the next author I'm going to talk about is Jane Austen. I have loved Jane Austen. I think I must have been, I know I was in primary school the first time I read Pride and Prejudice. I was a bit of a precocious child, I will admit, but I've always loved her books. And I know a lot of people go, oh, it's just all girly stuff. Yeah, okay, there's the romance there, but there is a lot of stuff that you have to remember that when these books were written were not normal behaviour. A woman could not turn down marriage proposals if she didn't have good prospects or if she didn't have a decent dowry. A lot of the comedy, the poking fun at society, was still quite risque at the time. And I mean, women didn't get the recognition that they deserved then. Now, like I say, Jane Austen, yes, it's a romance, but I think everybody should read them at some point. Look for the nuances and put yourself in the shoes of somebody living in that era. It was very different. Now, there have been some attempts at adaptations to bring them into more modern terms. There's a version of Persuasion that's on Netflix, which Richard E. Grant is brilliant but it puts it into 21st century language while still keeping the costumes and the era. But then you have other films that are based on Jane Austen works. There is actually a film called, it's a Bollywood version of Pride and Prejudice. And that's called Bride and Prejudice. It is a really good little rom. It's daft, it's silly, it's quirky, but again, it sticks to the original story fairly reasonably well. There are many different adaptations and things that have been done from that. I don't know if you've heard of Sense and Sensibility and Sea Monsters, or Mr. Darcy Vampire, or Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. All great extensions of that world, even the complete fantasy, and they are brilliant. But the original Jane Austen works, absolutely fantastic. Highly recommend. But a bit different to the Cassandra Clare young adult novels. The third author I want to talk about is, again, slightly different again. This is very much adult book territory. I think the term spicy might be used quite a lot in this. Laurell K. Hamilton. 2 series by her in particular immediately spring to mind, and that is the Anita Blake Vampire Hunter series, which, as it sounds, is Anita Blake is a private investigator vampire hunter who ends up kind of getting wrapped up in the world of where people and vampires, and again, things get a bit complicated, I think is probably the fairest word to use there. Her other main series is the Merry Gentry series, which puts us into the world of the Fae. Not the Fae as you might know from fairy tales. There is the Dark Court and the Light Court of the Seelie and the Unseelie, who are pretty gruesome, to be honest. A lot of politics in the background, brought to a head by the fact that Merry is not pure Fae. Her father was King of the Light Court. His sister is now Queen of the Light Court after her father was killed. The Queen knows that the world is dying, and she offers a bit of a challenge between Anita and the Queen's son. Whichever one bears a child first, so if a son gets somebody pregnant, he gets the crown. If Merry gets first, she gets the crown. However, there's a few catches and there's a few twists and turns along the way as well. Talk about complicated relationships. Wow. Really good books. Both series, as the series goes on, you get more knowledge and in-depth looks at the characters and how they develop and grow, which is often quite difficult in a standalone book. Obviously, the longer the series, the more you can add to somebody's character development and changes you can make. But both of the series I absolutely adore. I don't have them to hand because they are currently packed in a box. They will be getting out very, very soon. Bookshelves getting switched around and things. Apparently have too many books. No such thing. So, 3 authors for you to look out for. Cassandra Clare, Jane Austen, and Laurell K. Hamilton. And I'm going to do an honorary mention for some books. Now, I haven't read all of this author's books. They were published under the name Poppy Z. Bright. Poppy is now Billy Martin. You can find him on social media. A couple of books by him I've read are absolutely amazing. They are a little bit harder to get hold of. Easier now with the internet, but still UK sales are not easy to come by. Drawing Blood. Wow. I can't even begin to describe it. Now, one of the things all the authors that I've talked about have is the ability to really write a good story. They have the ability to give you enough description so you can imagine what's going on. They give you enough character detail for you to actually develop ideas about the character and imagine them in your own mind. But at the same time, the stories aren't slow. They develop at a reasonable pace, so they make for good reading. None of the books are going to be books that will take you forever to read. I think the first time I read Pride and Prejudice, I think it took me a couple of days to read. It was over a weekend or over a holiday. But I've always been quite a voracious reader, especially when I was younger. Don't ever let somebody tell you that because a book is in a romance section or in a young adult section or in a different section where they think you should be shopping. Don't let them discourage you from trying it. Having books that are lighter reads in some ways is something we all need. We all need that bit of escapism. We all need something that isn't going to be taxing on us, whether that be having physical needs or mental health needs. Sometimes we just need to escape. I personally like so many different genres of books, and I will read pretty much anything, including the stack of various medical and biomed textbooks that I have still. I enjoy reading. I think it's something that should be celebrated. I know a lot of young people now don't have the imagination, and I don't know why that seems to be something that's lacking. It's not all people. Some people still have great imaginations, but I worry that with the rise of AI, that people are losing something in the magic of books, the magic of storytelling. If you want to read something, read it. Take your time. There is no right amount of books to read in a session. There is no right amount of pages to read. It doesn't matter whether you're reading short stories, poetry, romance, horror, fiction, reference books. That's what you want to read. Read. Use your imagination. If you want to write. There was a big argument started on social media recently over various things about writing and how if you don't do this, you're not a writer, and if you don't do this, you're not an author, and all that. If you put words to a page, you are a writer, whether it gets published or not. Whether it's something that you write for a friend as a personal memory, something that you write for a child, do it. If you want to do it, do it. If you want to read it, read it. I was the kid that would read the packaging if I was bored. My brother and I would absolutely harass our mother by reading the signs on bus adverts and things like that, because that's the way we were. I'm not saying everybody should be like that, but I do think we need to go back to our imaginations and have fun reading, whether that be a comic, a graphic novel, a manga book, I don't know, Dostoevsky, which I have read. Personally, not a huge fan of Crime and Punishment. Did find it a little bit dry, but I was kind of dared to read it. So, read. Whenever you can. I used to read on the metro on the way to work. I used to read on the bus on the way to work. Now, I read in bed or in my nice comfy chair. I like to read. It's something I'll always like to do alongside other things. I don't just read. So now I am going onto my Twitter account from here, because I currently have a poll running for the next day or so. I think it's the next 20 odd hours I've got it running for. I am on a book buying ban. I'm saving at the moment to move house. I've also just had to buy a new mobility scooter. I do have a GoFundMe if anybody wants to find it. But I'm running a poll. I have had a flare for the last few days, haven't been great. And I'm currently on a book buying ban. So, do you think I should carry on saving? Or do you think I should buy a book or two? Enjoy what you read. Have fun. Bye.